My name is Harold Whitman. I'm 88 years old. That still looks strange when I say it out loud. 88. It sounds like someone else's age. There's a voice I hear now. It's been around for a while, but lately it's louder. It speaks when the house is empty. It speaks when I'm trying to sleep. And the strangest part is, it doesn't sound like me. When I was younger, I knew exactly what my voice sounded like. It was firm, certain. It filled rooms without asking permission. I used it at work, at home, at the dinner table. I used it to make decisions, to end arguments, to move life forward. This voice I hear now doesn't do any of that. It doesn't command. It doesn't rush. It just remembers. I spent most of my life believing memory was something you visited when you had time, something optional. Now, it's where I live. I grew up during a time when you didn't talk much about how you felt. You did what was in front of you. You kept going. You didn't stop to ask whether your life sounded the way you thought it did. I married young, not because I was sure, but because it was time. That's how decisions were made back then. Time arrived, and you stepped into it whether you understood it or not. My wife, Eleanor, had a laugh that came out before she decided to laugh. It surprised people. It surprised me for 42 years. I used to think I'd remember it forever, but memory doesn't work like that. It doesn't fade evenly. It takes things without asking. The first time I noticed the other voice was after she passed. The house was still new to being quiet. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a cup I didn't remember pouring, and I heard myself say, out loud, "Should have listened more." The words startled me, not because they were harsh, but because they didn't feel like they came from the man I remembered being. I didn't argue with myself. I just stood there, feeling the weight of a sentence I couldn't undo. It was years ago now. Time folds in strange ways near the end. I thought the voice would go away, that it was just grief rearranging things, but it stayed, and slowly it began telling me stories I thought I'd already lived. I remember one afternoon clearly, not because it was special at the time, but because it refuses to leave me now. Eleanor was sitting by the window folding laundry. The radio was on, low enough to ignore. I was reading the paper, pretending to. She said my name once, just once. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't hear her, but because I thought she'd speak again if it mattered. She didn't. At the time, it felt insignificant, a moment too small to hold on to. I went back to my paper. She finished the laundry. The voice I hear now returns me to that moment, often, not angrily, just patiently. It asks why I assumed there would always be another chance to respond. I don't have an answer for it. There are other scenes like that, small, unremarkable at the time. A door closed gently instead of loudly, a question swallowed instead of asked, an apology delayed because the day was long. I thought big mistakes were the ones that mattered, the dramatic ones, the kind you could point to. But life doesn't end on those. It ends on accumulations. I worked for 37 years at the same company. I retired with a watch and a handshake. People said kind things. I nodded. I went home. The voice doesn't talk much about my career. It doesn't seem interested. It talks about the evenings I came home tired and quiet, about the way my children learned not to interrupt, about how silence can feel like safety to the person creating it, like distance to everyone else. I loved my children. I know that. I still do. Love, I'm learning very late, has a sound, and I wasn't always making it. The voice doesn't accuse. That's what makes it harder. It just tells me what happened, what stayed unsaid, what waited too long. Some nights I try to argue with it. I'm reminded of the bills paid, the food on the table, the roof that never leaked. The voice lets me finish. Then it goes quiet in a way that feels like understanding, not agreement. That silence costs more than words ever did. I used to believe time healed things. Now I think time just removes your ability to fix them. When Eleanor was sick near the end, I sat beside her bed and talked about practical things. Insurance papers, the car, who would call whom. She listened. She squeezed my hand once. The voice remembers that squeeze better than I do. It asks why I didn't say the things I thought instead of the things that felt safe. I don't answer anymore. I just listen. Lately, the voice sounds calmer, almost gentle. Maybe that's what happens when there's nothing left to correct. I wake up early now, earlier than I need to. The mornings feel borrowed. I sit by the window and let the light come in without trying to use it for anything. The voice talks then, not in sentences always. Sometimes it's just a feeling of recognition. It tells me that the life I lived was real, that the moments I rushed through were the moments that stayed. It tells me that misunderstanding yourself takes a lifetime, and clarity often waits until it's no longer useful. I don't feel panic about that anymore, just a quiet wait. If I could go back, I wouldn't change the big things. I wouldn't rewrite the story. I would only change how present I was while it was happening. But this isn't about going back. That door closed a long time ago, softly, without a sound. Now there's just this chair, this room, and a voice that finally sounds honest. It isn't mine from the past. It's mine without the noise. If you're still here with me, thank you for staying this long. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. If you want to sit with this for a moment, leave a quiet thought below. That's enough. I'm just glad this voice was heard once.